Hello and welcome to the Mental Health Gaming Podcast. Once again, I'm Bradley. I'm fresh from being on the high seas for the last week, just so he can get that copy of Frobisher Says saved onto his hard drive. It's Stu. How you doing, Stu?
Army arties, yeah, pretty good. So obviously, cruising the high seas, stealing whatever I can. It's just I want to take people's money and their possessions, and also there's a joke in there about booty, but we won't go there.
No, we're gonna pillage Sony is what we're going to do, and we'll come to that in a little bit. Talking of Sony, I've not been playing any Sony games. Have you?
Oh, that's a good question. I haven't actually this week. I was close to playing the demo of R-Type Final 2, which would have been on a Sony system, which is pretty tenuous, but that was as close as I got this week. And I didn't because I just haven't had the chance. But yeah, no, this week was quite a big one actually, because as I've been alluding to in little bits over the last few weeks, I've been having a big retro project going on, and mostly is getting stuff in to sell on, do up, clean up, fix up, modify, whatever, and then sell on just to make a bit of cash. But I also got some bits in for myself, and over a long stretch of time, because of various stuff, I managed to get a working Sega Saturn. Oh. And that's exciting in and of itself.
Yes.
But also I got a Terra Onion mode. Now a mode is a multi-optical disc emulator, which sounds more complex than it is. It's just a replacement for the CD/DVD drive in old consoles, so that you don't have to worry about that conking out and spitting its last and spewing toxic smoke into your room, as these things can do. Mostly no, they just fail completely. And I, funnily enough, had a PS1 back in the day, and it had that infamous laser problem where the laser bed got wonky and you had to stand it on its side or upside down to make the thing work.
Everyone done that, the multi-directional PlayStation 1, yeah.
That's right, letting gravity assist you with a high-tech piece of
and your blue tack in there to help you with the pirate games.
No, of course. Well, I had a chip modded one, so I didn't have to bother with the commoner approach.
The blue tack to keep the beacons down and then quickly change the discs at the right time. Oh, those were the days.
Yeah. No, I've done that in the past. Yeah, but I didn't really have a lot of copies for the PS1. Anyway, we'll get into all that. So,
and it's okay to pirate Sony games.
Completely.
So it's fine. Carry
exactly. On. You're basically a curator now if you're doing it. So. Yeah, no, I mean, we'll get onto all that. But yeah, the mode is really great. So you just hook it all up inside, and you can either stick in a SD card or even an SSD drive, so a slim hard drive, and it just plays games off that, and you just stick them all on there. So, but a huge number of them were ones that I've owned. So the majority of games that I wanted to replay, I've either had a go of, I've owned and had a go of, or were one of my favourites. But there's also a few that are not available anymore. And I went on a big rant the other week about how I love all games. I don't have rose tinted glasses. I'm not, I'm not nostalgic. I just play games that are good. So I'm not really bothered about owning the hardware. But it's an exception with the Saturn, because the emulation for the Saturn has never been good enough for me. I've used it a lot, and it doesn't matter whether it's Yabayus or however it's pronounced, or SSF, or there's a few RetroArch. It's never really got there for me, and I've never been happy with it. And so I wanted the original hardware so that it could actually play the games properly and look proper. So that's a long way of saying, yes, I've been playing those, and I've been playing specifically Grandia. Now, I don't know if do you know Grandia at all?
I do know of Grandia, yes.
Ah, there you go. So yeah, so audience-wise, it's a RPG. It looks a bit like Sega's output, even though it's not a Sega game. And basically, you're a young lad, and you end up in big world-ending potentially situations. But the thing with Grandia was that it never got a release outside of Japan on the Saturn, and there was a PS1 version, but it was by all accounts heavily cut down graphically, from the Saturn one, which is odd because, obviously the Saturn wasn't as good as the PS1 graphically generally. But yeah, so what they did was they backported all the text and menus from the PS1 version onto the Saturn, so you can now play the original in all its glory with full English translation. So That's what I've been doing.
That's the modding community is amazing, aren't they?
They
For
really
what they
are.
can do sometimes.
Yeah.
It'll kind of again. This all fits into discussion a bit later, but it's the bad reputation they got probably in the early 2000s. But this is why you need modded consoles at times, so you can play fan translations of games that you was never able to otherwise play, and things like that. I remember struggling through various games with Japanese text and voiceover and not having a clue what I was doing, but still just appreciating the mechanics. So to be able to play something like Grandia, which I'm fairly sure I did play in Japanese for some reason. I'm sure someone I knew had a Saturn. They had a Japanese Saturn, and that was one of the games they had with it, and we tried playing through it. But to be able to play that fully, realise, that's special.
It is, yes, yeah. So very briefly on the game, because most people who were interested will have looked for it, so I won't go on about it much. But yeah, basically it's a traditional RPG, and the thing that makes it stand out is it's very attractive game for the time, very colourful. It looks like some stuff like, I don't know, sort of like Xenogears or Magic Knight Rayearth in terms of that colourful kind of quite visually impressive kind of style. It's more cartoony and less much less anime, much less kind of spiky haired, androgynous stuff of the Final Fantasy style, and much more towards regular cartoonish, cutesy, bobble-headed kind of characters. But yeah, no, the standout with it is that the story's really good. And it's all really interesting, and it's sort of low-key at the moment, but it's really good fun, and the dialogue is actually witty, and you actually care about the characters, and that's so important and so often overlooked in Japanese RPGs or the way that they're translated to us. So yeah, I've really been enjoying that. It's been a pleasure so far. Yeah, so that's it really. So it's been really great, really enjoying it. Quality title. So have you been able to play anything yourself?
I've played 2 games.
Whoa.
2 new games as well. I know. Actually, before I get on to it, I just want to point out as well, in my time beating off, Edith's been playing more and more video games. And she started picking up Smash Brothers. And it's been brilliant watching her discover Super Smash Brothers. She's maining as Pikachu at the moment. But because why not? I do anyway. I love fighting with Pikachu on Smash Brothers. But she's sitting there, and the other night she's playing away, and all you hear from her is, "Oh, Jesus, he's killing me!" and then a bit later she goes, "Oh my gosh, I've got a mystery character." I was like, oh my god, I just love listening to her play. It's like the joy in her voice. I wish I could go back to that sometimes.
Yeah, that's superb. Also the fact that she's happy to occasionally drop the F-bomb, but she says gosh instead of God. That's impressive. I like that.
To be fair, she does swear as well.
Exactly.
She does swear she swears like a sailor on the high seas. Oh, it's all linking, isn't it?
Yeah, that's superb.
But yeah, no, I've been playing 2 games. One of them is, don't take this as an official review of it because I don't know when embargo is, but I'm going to talk a bit about it anyway. Is Say No More, which is an intriguing little game. It's a 1-button game, no, sort of, where you sort of like it's almost an on-rail shooter. Where the idea is, as soon as someone asks you a question, you've got to say no to them. And you kind of go through this predetermined path. You got these, it starts off in this office building. These co-workers come up to you going, make me a cup of tea. You go, no. File this paperwork. No. I need you to fax this. No. And it's just like this really quirky, funny little game. which should be rubbish. In all intents and purposes, it should be absolutely rubbish. But it's so fun. So you start off, and the idea is you're an intern at this company. And you kind of, you press the button, the main button in the game, and your character just goes, because they can't say anything. And you get, like, your supervisor comes in and goes, to get ahead in this company, just say yes to everything. Yes, yes, yes. Looks at you and goes, I want your lunchbox. And we know what we say to that. And you're like, kind of just like, oh, yeah, I've got to follow the rules. And then you go and kind of sit at your desk and you put on a self-help tape. And this self-help tape teaches you to say no. And then you kind of go through, like, these things to say people come and ask you to do various jobs. And you go, no, no. And then you get there's bosses in this game, like actual, like they are bosses, but they're like computer game based bosses as well. And you say no to the boss, and it's like, no, you can't defeat me, which I say, no, I'm your boss. So you kind of get pushed back. You get your self-help tape again. You play it, and the self-help guy is like typical sort of like fitness guru type thing, big muscles and over the top positiveness, goes, if you want to destroy those who can't just say no to, you've got to make them lose their confidence at the same time. Try laughing at them. And then you've got another button that allows you to press to start laughing at different people.
Okay.
So you go back and you go, ha, 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 you laugh at him, and he goes, oh no, my confidence. And you then go, no, and he goes, runs away. And then you get this weird cutscene that goes from it, where they go into like the boards, like the CEOs and everything are there. And you go in there and they go, oh, intern, do this. And you go, no. And they're like, what? Disobedience in our company, we won't stand for this. And the supervisor comes in, gets fired, and you get the supervisor role. And when it goes, will you take the supervisor role? You go, no. And they go, that's what we like to see, assertiveness. And it's just really sad. It builds up from there, and then you've got to use a combination of your different like no and making them lose confidence, and there's loads of slight caveats to that as you go. And it is just really, really, really silly. And you're not going to play it more than once. It loses its humour, I think, if you play it a second time. But I sat there, it's a one button. I initially thought, well, I'll give it a go. It's a one button game pretty much. So if I can't see it, I can just like hammer my way through it. But it's really fun. Just really, really fun. It's out on Switch and PC, possibly the other consoles, I don't know. But yeah, just really enjoyable ludicrousness. Like a proper like, do you know those like low random games, the like Goat Simulator and all that?
Yeah.
It's like one of those, but with actual humour, rather than just going, look at physics, aren't physics silly?
Yeah, just trying to coast by on its premise, sort of thing.
And this is what it's doing, in a way, but it works, and it's funny. Really, really funny and enjoyable for the time you're with it. So, yeah, let's say no more.
That sounds really cool. Yeah, so that's like, say no, exclamation mark. More,
yes,
isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
And do you know roughly how much it's going to cost?
I think it's about a tenner.
Right.
I think.
Right. Yeah.
Which some people might go, a tenner for just a one-note game. I get that. But I'm telling you now, it's probably more fun than paying 60 quid for Marvel's Avengers. Just saying. Or Anthem. Or The Division.
Paying to have your junk squished is more fun than doing that. So,
I mean, some people might look at it and go, tenner, but no, it's definitely, you'll get a tenner's worth of entertainment out of it easily.
Well, that sounds pretty good. I think, 10 might be too steep for me as an entry point, but I don't know, maybe. I mean, with pricing, it's all very calculated, isn't it? It's like, you put it in at what it's worth, and it's probably worth £10 because of the amount of effort that the guys have put into it. Yeah. That doesn't necessarily mean that the audience wants to pay that, because market dictates what people think the value of things are. Yeah. But there are things out there that have half an hour, 1 hour's worth of entertainment that I'll immediately slap £10 down for, if it's in my wheelhouse. So yeah, no, it all depends on what you're into and what you're willing to pay. But I think when it hits a sort of around £6 mark, that's something I might jump in on at that point.
It's also perfect Game Pass fodder. Absolutely perfect for Game Pass. And I see it sort of within the year possibly being on a humble bundle, like a humble choice bundle. sort of gaining extra traction there. But yeah, I absolutely love it. It could be a bit of a sleeper hit, in all fairness. It's one of those, you're not going to be considering it at the end of the year for Game of the Year awards, but you'll remember it fondly, for sure. As you're doing it, you're going, oh, does it sneak into my top 10? Oh, it's funny. It's funny, but does it make it? And it's one of those, but it's not one of those you're instantly dismissing either. It's it is just definitely a one-hit game. I say you play it, you're done, you recommend it, you won't touch it again, but you'll remember it with such fond memories.
And that's so important, because if you think about, like, let's use Godzilla vs. Kong as an example. So there's loads of people who've paid a lot of money to watch that, and there'll be 5%, 10% of people who will remember any real details from it in a year's time. Whereas you can drop a tenner on this, and when somebody asks you, what's a game that really stuck out for you, you'll go, oh, well, it's this. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, yeah, value.
By that time, you'll probably be able to get it for peanuts as well.
Yes, and then they're charging the right market value, 10 quid, at point of release was the right thing to do, because the right audience will have gone to it at that point, and then the wrong audience, if you want to call them that, will have picked it up when it's cheap. So yeah, hopefully works.
But it also leads to moments where you can do this. So Stu, ask me if I'd recommend the game.
Would you recommend the game?
No. So yeah, there's plenty of that. Also, I want them to win an award, because I want them, instead of going up to accept an award, if you're allowed in crowds at that time, would be to go and just go no. And just walk off without the award. That'd be amazing. In fact, Jeff Keighley, if you're listening, I know you listen, Jeff. Okay, I know you listen. Give him an award at the end of the end of the year, and that's going to happen. Please make it happen, Jeff.
That would be so good. It really would.
And the other game I've been playing, been really enjoyed. I played it using the Steam Link, which I finally got to try out after 8 weeks now, is Monster Truck Championship.
Right.
Played it on the Xbox Series just to see what it was like and everything like that, because we got it for review, just for clarity. And I played it on there. Yep, looks fine, but it's on a small screen in my son's room. So I thought, I've also got this on PC, so I think I got it as part of a racing bundle on Humble Bundle or something like that as well. So I thought, I can play the main and the mechanics on the big TV that way. Oh my God, it's a really good game. I was expecting something to be... Do you remember the old, like, truck racing games or Ford racing games you used to get on the PC in the mid-2000s?
Oh, I know of them. I never played them, but yeah, I know of them, yeah.
They were the box shots. They had, like, on the back, they'd really gone to town with making those look super realistic and really good to play, and then you played them and they were just bang average at best. Well, that's what I assumed this might be. I thought, it's going to look really good. The concept sounds really good, like a semi-realistic monster truck game. I'm all for that, because all the arcadey ones in the past, like your Monster Jams and that, I've always wanted to like them, but they've always been crap. It's over-the-top physics, and it's like, yeah, arcade. It's like, but you've not got the arcade part, right? But anyway, so I'll give it a go. It's kind of semi-realistic, so why not? I mean, Nacon obviously got some bad press over the last few months because of Sinking City, I think it is, or Dry Drowning, one of the two that they've had issues with the developers with. But on my side, they've brought out stuff like Handball and stuff like that, which has been really entertaining to play. Flawed but decent game.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that one.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those. It's flawed to a minor degree, but really decent. So, monster trucks, I believe, in real life, have four-wheel control, or two-axis control. So you control your front axis and your rear axis independently of each other. And that's how they do those, like, really fast donuts and stuff like that.
Okay.
And apparently most monster truck games haven't had this in. It's kind of simulated that to a degree, whereas this has got it. It's got it in there that you've got to control both axes separately. And you go through a tutorial which tells you how to drive, how to stop, how to do various little tricks and stuff like that. And they feel controlled and not over the top or anything like that. So I'd say this is more like the Skate to Monster Jam's Tony Hawk in that respect. And then it's kind of structure-wise, it's a lot like Wreckfest in terms of both the menu layout and the way it progresses through events and stuff like that. But everything's very grounded, and it just works so well. I don't know if I'm going to assume back in your youth days you watched some monster trucks on like 80s TV.
Yeah, I mean, I've brushed
Bigfoot
up against them a little bit. That's about it. But yeah, what was the big blue one? Bigfoot, that's it. I remember that.
It's Bigfoot and Gravedigger, and none of these were officially licensed in this game, by the way. I think Monster Jam has the official license. But yeah, it's kind of like you'd see them do things like they could sort of like tip over but bounce back up, and they could do sort of like move on to their side and do donuts while they're on the side and do other donuts, wheelies, jumps and stuff like. You could do all of that in the game. And you do get sort of like score multipliers and things, and there's outright races as well. But it's just a really decent game, proper mid-tier. It's the equivalent of literally going, oh, do you know what I really fancy for lunch? A crisp sandwich. That's what Monster Truck Championship is. It's a crisp sandwich of video games.
Gotcha.
Where you kind of go, like, if you're thinking specifically about, what do we have? What shall we have for a nice dinner this week? And you're going, you're never going to be thinking about a crisp sandwich. And it's the same. You're not going, right, I want a new video game. What shall I buy? You're not going Monster Truck Championship. But sitting there on your computer or your Xbox or PlayStation or whatever, is you go, do you know what? I'm peckish. Crisp sandwich it is. Or, do you know what? Just for 10 minutes, Monster Trucks.
It's weird how games have changed so much. Because in the past, there were just good games and crap games. And maybe like games that were crap that you'd play anyway, just because they were all you had. But now there's basically a game style or a game type for pretty much every mood, every amount of time you've got in your life, you know.
The mid-tier's back.
Yeah, mid-tier is back, and that's bloody good stuff.
The 360 PS3 and even the PS, I'd say the early to mid PS4 and Xbox One era, we had 10 out of 10 games were good. Basically, if a game was playable or it was meant to be sort of like a game that you should play, it was anywhere between 9 and 10. That was the barometer.
Yeah.
8 was your average game. Anything below 7, just no, that's the worst game ever. Whereas now we seem to have hit the scales again of going, do you know what? It's okay to play a 6 out of 10 game. But this is what this is, a 6 out of 10 game. It's an average game, but it's fun.
Yeah.
And good. Because the big AAA releases, I'm sorry, they've been shot.
Oh, yeah, God, that's a conversation in and of itself. There's hardly anything that's been out there's even blipped on my radar for months.
Yeah, how you doing, you shiny new PlayStation 5 and an Xbox Series X? Loads to play? Oh, what you mean you're playing last-gen games on them still? Because that's all there is worth playing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't
Pass
have that.
Is great.
Yeah. I don't have those, but my PC's more than capable. But
yeah,
there's just nothing that I want, nothing I fancy.
Nope. Yeah, I'm sitting there playing old hardware now that it is on the Switch, and I'm looking at upcoming releases, and I'm going, yep, okay, I am all for that. You know, I'm looking at the Switch. Fall Guys is coming, which I know is not for everyone, but I'm looking forward to that because my daughter really wants it. And also, I've covered it on the site before, but a game called Ember, which is like a Deliveroo Uber style game, but for firefighters, which is, again, it's another quite funny game, but we absolutely love playing that together. That's coming to the Switch. I'm going to be playing that. Obviously, you've got your Monster Hunter Rises, Say No More, that Astrologaster that I talked about last week. Oh, there's like loads of good stuff on existing hardware. And for me, I was originally going, I was gutted I couldn't get a PlayStation. I was gutted I couldn't afford a Series X. I'm looking at it now and going, all right,
yeah,
I'm happy.
Not having that.
Yeah, it's absolutely fine. So keep old hardware, can't we, Sony?
Yeah. On Astrologaster, the devs retweeted our tweet out about the podcast, so they picked up on it, which was nice.
Excellent. That's good to know. It's good. I'm glad it gave them even. I know we've got the biggest of audiences, but hope it gave them maybe just at least maybe a couple of extra eyes on the game because it definitely deserves it.
Yeah.
So if they've continued to listen, hello developers. I can't wait to see what you do next.
Nyam Yam, I think they're called. Yeah, good name. I like it.
Well, even after the political uprising and like, the coup there and everything.
No, that's Myanmar.
Yeah, I know. I'm not to confuse the two. Really sorry, developers. I didn't mean to do that.
I bet they're sitting there going, "Oh bloody hell! Someone's made that joke again."
Yeah. Oh, I wish that doctor had shoved his eye with the chandelier.
Yeah.
So, you been playing anything else?
Probably, but I can't really remember. I had a quick go on a game called, I'll make sure I get this right, I think it's Avenging Spirit on the Game Boy. So you'll remember I was saying that I got an old Game Boy, got a new screen in it, and I've been playing lots of Game Boy stuff, and I've been kind of touching on them and making sure they're still worth playing today, because some of them haven't aged that well. And Avenging Spirit sort of falls into that kind of slot, really, because it's really good, but there's a lot of quality of life stuff missing that kind of puts you off. So it's a platform action game, with the wrinkle being that you are a ghost, you're a spirit, and you inhabit other people's bodies. And yeah, that's not a brand new thing in gaming, but it's not been used that many times. I think the most famous one was probably something like, was it called Divinity or something? You like a little cherub.
I'm going more to Soul Reaver. It's the one or Psyops and stuff like that. The ones I really immediately go to.
Yeah, Psyops I was going to mention. Yeah, Soul Reaver I forgot completely. Do you take over other characters with that?
I'm sure you do. I'm sure there's a bit of that in. It's Legacy of Kain, isn't it? And it's the Soul Reaver, which is a quasi sequel to Legacy. I don't know, but I'm sure there's some possession stuff going on in there as well.
Yeah, crops up now and again. Yeah, the one that I remember is that cherub. There's you're a cherub and you take over, and it's called
Divinity. That one.
It is Divinity. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I thought it was. So it's like those, but it's in a much more arcadey platform 2D style, that side of it's good. The action itself is all right, but the platforming is horrible. Oh, just really dodgy pixel perfect jumping, and just your jump style changes from character to character, so it's harder to get in the rhythm of the bad jumping anyway. So it's got loads of really good ideas plus a side order of crappy execution. So I had about an hour on that, but I don't know if I'll be able to go back to it, to be honest.
That's right. So the question I have with games like that, when we look back at games like that, where you kind of play it, you go, oh, we let them get away with so much back then, because you just basically you paid for the game and trading wasn't exactly a major thing, and so you gave it the benefit of the doubt. So a game like that where you go, there's some good ideas, but actually, my God, it's aged badly. Remake? Would you welcome a remake of it?
Absolutely, I think it's absolutely crying out for one, because there's all sorts that you could do, because almost reminiscent in a little way of stuff like Psycho Fox and Magical Fine Hat, in that how you navigate changes slightly but significantly. Also, Wonder Boy 3 as well. So, you get a different character with slightly different jump ability and hit range and stuff like that, and hitboxes as you go along. And doing the environment in that way is almost sort of pre-Metroidvania, and it's more simplistic, but it's similar. So you get a similar kind of thrill from redoing bits or doing bits with different abilities. So I think there's loads of scope for a remake on that. I'd love to see it. And if it fixed the jumping, timing, pixel perfect issues, then I'd be buying it day one, I think.
Yeah, I can imagine that with nice hand-drawn animations and stuff like that. Sounds like it could be good.
Well, there you go, you see.
Someone make that. The Myanmar developers, they can make it.
Yeah, those guys.
Totally out of their wheelhouse, because they made a visual novel type thing. But no, go off you go, make it. I'll give you permission.
Awesome.
That's where I am. I'm the lord of the indies.
Yeah, well, you kind of are in a way. Yeah. Or just a peon, toiling in the fields. Yeah.
So, new feature, Stu, before we move on.
Yes.
People have actually communicated with us via the magical medium of email.
What is this email of which you speak?
It was made from E-Man, the Cockney Cockney guy from Grayskull.
Oh, that's superb. I'm just picturing him now wearing, the Pearly King's outfits.
Oh, He-Man.
As if He-Man couldn't get any gayer. Yeah.
That'd be brilliant.
That'd be amazing.
Was he ever a gay icon though, He-Man?
Don't know. If he wasn't, he blooming well should have been.
I mean, bronzed,
Oh yes.
blonde hair.
Ripped.
I mean, I get why the ladies like him. I'm never confused. Some Al Murray there again.
Such strange feelings going through the brain.
Yes.
Yeah.
And wait, what was the relationship with his sister? Did they take that from Star Wars? Is that a bit too close? I don't know.
Yeah.
And that weird film, Orko, as well. That was
yeah.
weird.
I love that design though. Yeah. But anyway, this is going quite off the email track, I think, isn't it?
Yes. So by the power of Grayskull, let's listen to what messages we've had. I know one of them anyway, so I'll let you read it and give the abuse.
Cool. So, the first email ever. This is from Brad's partner, Lorraine. And it says, Stu is the calm to Bradley's storm. Stu has a wonderful soothing voice and really should tell Bradley to shut up more and let him speak, or edit it so he doesn't talk as much. So what do you think of that?
Joke's on you, Lo, because you don't know how much he edits it down. It's there's a lot more talking than that, and I can give you the hard copy.
Nah, it's very well balanced. I like the fact that some people have said I've got a soothing voice. That's nice, but yeah, no, I feel like I talk enough. I don't feel like I'm overfaced by you or anything. So if anyone's concerned, then don't worry. I feel represented.
We are like the English Jay and Silent Bob, but without the drugs or misogyny.
Well, I don't know about that. I want to keep some drugs in my life.
Well, I need insulin, so I don't think I'm dealing it out the front of a convenience store though. So you know.
Yeah. I don't think I'm fat enough either. More towards the Kevin Smith end that he is now than he was when he was Silent Bob.
Oh yeah, and I'm definitely more Jason Mewes than I am calm and reserved.
Absolutely. But without the heroin habit. Yeah.
Yes, you've not offered to make a new motion picture to help me sort of like recover from my drugs habit. So you know.
Well, I'm just still trying to get the funding. Surprisingly, there aren't that many investors.
No. If you want to fund the Brad and Silent Stew movie, then you can do so on Patreon.
Yeah, please do. I would love to do that.
Oh yeah, it'd be awful. It'd have to be straight to YouTube job. We're not going to try and release that as an actual film because that'd be stupid. But a YouTube job,
exactly.
I'm saying like that's actually going to happen. There's the ADHD. I've got that in my mind going, oh, that could actually happen. There, it's not going to happen.
Well, I've got a script already. I'm the bored housewife, and you're the plumber who comes to the door, and yeah, we can go from there.
No, that's just the movie you watched last night, Stu.
Home videos.
Yes, home videos.
Nice.
Anyway,
so
thank you, thank you for the compliments, Lo, to Stu. One day you'll compliment me.
Maybe. Yeah, thanks, Lo. That's great. The next one is from Brent, and he asks thoughts on game preservation, specifically from the big three. Now this is a huge topic this week. So obviously. Over to you for what Sony have been doing, Brad.
Well, that wasn't even planned. So, because this is how professional we are. I only mentioned to Stu to check for emails just before we started recording, and about 2 minutes ago he was going, I can't actually get into them to read them, so we had to do a bit of scrambling around. So we didn't even plan that, so that's nice timing. Thank you, Brent.
That's cool.
Game preservation, especially from the big three, it's got to happen more. It's something that's got to be important, and I don't care how they do it, but you've got to be able to get access to a platform holder's back catalogue at all times. It'd be nice to have third-party games, but I get why licensing and stuff like that can be an issue. If you are a Nintendo, a Sony, a Microsoft, your games, as long as you are a platform, should be available. That's it. Now, all three have got their issues. And Nintendo's they just charge you through the nose for them again. But at least you can still play them again. Okay, they've got the online like SNES Online and the NES Online thing now. That's great, and it is an option. But you can pretty much, in some fashion, get most Nintendo published games again, with the odd exception. Same with Microsoft. I would love them to actually get Project Gotham Racing back on the store so you can get that. But on the whole, most of their stuff is available through backwards compatibility. Again, before anyone ats me, there are exceptions, I know. However, every few years, Sony decide they reach the top. For whatever reason, they take way too much cocaine and they fall from grace. 183 Sony exclusives or something, I believe, are now consigned to the bin, the history books. I might be slightly out on the number, but it's a ridiculous number of Sony exclusives that are going to be no longer legally playable. And yeah, that's a disgrace. It is disgraceful that is even a thing.
It is.
My argument is, with some of it, PS1, PS2, fine. I get it. Disc only. If you can find a way of emulating the disc or rebuilding the hardware or getting your hardware fixed, the option's there still to play them. I get that to a degree. But when we're now getting to 100 odd digital only exclusives, then that is where we've got to start questioning what's morally right with game preservation. James Stephanie Sterling talked about this last week, I think it was, and basically said, do you know what, it's morally okay to pirate Sony's games. Jokingly said, doesn't matter if it's the old ones or even everything they bring out from now on, just pirate it, because at some point you're not going to be able to play it. And there was a semi-joke in there, but I agree. If you know that at some point they are going to shutter access to that game and make it impossible to get, then what's the point? Those games hold no value anymore. And from a game preservation point of view, the only way to keep them is to pirate them.
Yep.
And yeah, it's, we're not talking sort of games that are like decades old here. We're looking at stuff like Rain on the PS3, which was a very underrated game. Came out right at the end, digital only on the PS3's life, just before the PS4 came out, and didn't get, I think, the attention it deserved. Again, a flawed game, but still really enjoyable. And I was surprised it never saw a bit of a PS4 re-release. But no one's going to get to play that unless they rush out to buy it, and no one's rushing out to buy Rain. Sony's argument's going to be, well, no one's buying these games. Who wants to play old games and stuff like that? But people do. It's why we have nostalgia. It's why the retro market is still so bloody big. People do want to go back to those. And when you're producing thousands of games a year, people might not get to a game released in, say, 2012 until 2022, 2024, 2025 or something. They might not get to see that and go, oh, do you know what? Yeah, I remember hearing about that. I'll play that now because there's a bit of a dip or they've played for everything they really fancy. But you're not going to... Gaming's not the same as it was. You're not going, right, here are the immediate sales. What can we get from it? And then that game's gone. Now, I think there's a lot more look at Among Us as an example. Came out, I think, 2019, possibly even 2018. Didn't do well, but saw a renaissance in 2020 due to pandemic and everything, and has now just gone from strength to strength. So shows you that, and it's not just a new thing, it happens in different times. I spoke about Monster Truck Championship. Yes, we got code because that went on to the, got a next-gen console upgrade, but it's still a game that released a little while back and is now, I think they spoke about it on Giant Bomb as well. We're speaking about it. I know other outlets have spoken about it, so maybe not the same sort of renaissance that Among Us has, but it's getting more attention now, months after its original release. So game preservation is vital, and for Sony to shut it down like they have is an utter disgrace, especially on the PS Vita as well, which is not even a decade old.
Yes, it's a travesty, and I think a good way of putting it into perspective might be to say, if there's an opportunity to play a game, it will get played. If there's no opportunity to play a game, it will never get played. So having it available, the one way Sony guarantee that those things that they don't think have any value to make them have no value is to remove them. But of course they do have value, and people do want to play them. Now, part of it is like it's hubris. It's a terrible thing. I mean, the worst thing is that these lessons should have been learned. So you've got like the BBC in the 60s and 70s. They just kept re-recording over their old film. So you have whole swathes of stuff like of cultural history, like Top of the Pops and Doctor Who episodes and things like that are completely gone. Because there's no home recording at the time, so they're gone forever. Can't be, maybe the odd person will find a reel that they've stolen from the Beeb.
Probably some
left.
70s stuff has gone from the BBC though. So,
well, I know, yeah, but yeah, no. So yeah, and there's that lesson, and there's the lesson of the likes of Scorsese and Coppola with film had to lobby hard to have a preservation society for film, and to preserve film, all you need to have is the right environment and one negative, and you're golden. And people would happily stick them in their loft if you asked them to. And yet, the likes of Paramount and Sony were just chucking stuff away and just treating it like garbage.
Yeah.
And whole swathes of film history were being lost. And to a degree, that's still a problem. If it wasn't for the likes of people ripping stuff and putting it up on YouTube or keeping it at home on the hard drive, all of this stuff would be lost to history. And the stuff that the companies talk about as piracy, i.e. taking money out of the mouths of the creators, well, that's the argument that they make. Of course it's not. It's taking the money out of the mouths of the publishers who exploit the creators.
The billionaires.
But that's another argument.
Yeah.
But even if you go with the argument that it's taking the money out of the mouths of creators, that's one tiny proportion, because it's been proven that if people have easy and quick access to paid content, that they will pay it. People don't mind. They will do that. It's only when things become difficult, awkward, sequestered, too expensive, made difficult in some way or other due to format or anything like that, or the way that it's transmitted, that's when people will pirate it, in inverted commas, because they don't, whether it's piracy or not is another matter. But yeah, if people weren't ripping this stuff when it was available, then it wouldn't be available anymore in the future. And you think, and to go back to Godzilla vs. Kong, they're never going to get rid of Godzilla vs. Kong, and there'll be people out there, I loved that film, and then something happens, the director falls out with the studio, or the studio falls out with the distributor, or it's not making enough money, and you can't get Godzilla vs. Kong, and then that's gone. Yeah. So there's a real importance to grabbing this stuff, especially when there are very few physical copies of things being produced anymore.
100%. Now, just a couple of bits from that is... so, on the gaming side, we've got the Ninja Gaiden collection coming out on whatever consoles it's coming out on. I can't really remember. But on one of them, we're getting like the updated versions on 2 of the games. But on one of them, it's only the original version, not the improved version, because they lost the source code for the original version, which shows that you can't always trust the rights holders to handle it properly. And it's the same with film as well. You said about when they make it easier and more accessible for people will pirate it less. The only film of late that I've looked at and gone, you're right, I'm going to pirate that because screw you, Disney, was Mulan. I didn't in the end because apparently it was a god-awful attempt at a live-action version of the film. And... yeah, it's the only reason I looked at that was when you can't charge me for Disney Plus and then charge me another 20 quid on top. That's just stupid. You're getting enough money in the fundness through your subscription service anyway. But there's so much stuff where I'm willing to go now. Do you know what? I'm going to wait for it to hit Netflix, or I'll wait for it to hit Now TV. There's a few bits on like Sky Originals that I really want to watch. And whereas in the past, I wouldn't want to pay for Sky, so I'd be going, do you know what, I'm going to try and find a way of pirating that using news groups or something. Now I'm going, right, once we've caught up with all the bits we want on Netflix and stuff like that, we'll pay for a couple of months of Now TV Entertainment Pass and just go through a few bits on Sky. Because it's easy and it's preserved there. If all of a sudden they start not preserving it there, then I'll have no choice but to pirate. And it's the same with games. Pirates are the ones who are doing the preservation work. And it's needed. It really is needed more now, more than ever.
Yeah.
So I did have a little think and go... So Sony's argument for doing this is the PSP, the PS Vita and the PS3 stores are built on old infrastructure and are holding back them progressing forward. So if Sony were to turn round and go, look, we need to build a new structure. We've got to do this. So what we're going to do is we are going to have to take down these digital-only games. We've got to do it to be able to do this. However, what we will do, we will find a way of making them re-accessible again in X amount of months or years when this work is all completed, and we'll get them back in some form. Or what we will do, because these are out on our side with our games, Sony published games where we still got the rights and everything, with these ones, whatever system they were out on, we will provide them on disc for those games. Like, you have to order them and we will press them as you want them. Just something that allow people to get access to them, even if you say it's only on original hardware. Because that's acceptable, because that's the only way you could play them anyway, a lot of these games. So do something. Don't just go, we want to move forward so we're getting rid. You can't do that. Imagine if you couldn't watch Citizen Kane anymore. Just imagine if you couldn't watch Singing in the Rain.
Yeah.
Now, you know, Casablanca hasn't aged well, but so be it. But they're important films. If you couldn't get access to those, where do the next generation of filmmakers get inspiration from? Because I don't want a generation where they're going, well, we've lost the old film, so I'm just going to watch Scary Movie 3 for my inspiration. No, tar.
Yeah, precisely.
So, yeah, it's vitally, vitally important. I think Sony... No, see, if this was Microsoft, they'd backtrack on this straight away. You could see it, because they've shown that if you pressurise Microsoft, they go... Yeah, okay, we were wrong. The consumers wanted this. Look how quickly they backtracked over the Xbox Live price increase. Yeah. They went, yeah, we completely misread the room. We're sorry. Prices are staying as they are. By the way, we're also now making all the free-to-play games actually free-to-play, so you don't need gold. You should have done that ages ago. So, precious... But Sony don't. They go, well, no, we're digging our heels in. The whole backwards compatibility thing. They kind of done a little bit with it, but they didn't really move. They dug their heels in and went, no, people don't want to play old games because they look ancient. Behave. I hope there's enough pressure put on Sony that they bring these games back in some fashion. Even if they're streamed. At this point, I'd go stick them on PlayStation Now as streamable only. It's something at least.
Yeah, I think the final thing I have to say on it is, that preservation and piracy and all that, they're all interconnected, but they're not exactly the same. And as lots of places, lots of content producers or platforms are moving more and more towards streaming and towards having things transmitted rather than having hard copies, that the chances of losing stuff is much higher than it ever was. And I think it's far more important that things are retained and kept. And I would just say, from my point of view, pay for something if you can. If you want to rewatch or watch something that you don't have the opportunity to do and you can't pay for it anywhere, then I think that you should be able to have that available. But anyway, my point of view, doesn't matter if you don't agree, that's fine. I see both sides. But yes, the preservation is vitally important, and no matter what we do as consumers, there's a responsibility on the producers of these things to retain the original stuff so that it's always there and preserved.
100%. 100%. And with films, TV, books, music, they're all so easy to actually preserve yourself. Because if you've got the right software, you can get a copy of that. Somewhere, I want to see, there's a film I absolutely adore called Series 7, The Contenders, which I think I spoke about before on our sister podcast.
Yep.
Where apes reality shows and sort of like modern society, and I think it's very prevalent today. Now you can't get hold of it anywhere. There's still, you can maybe get it on eBay if you're lucky as a random disc, but you can't stream it anywhere. But I do know if I really put the effort in somewhere, that's been preserved. Maybe on archive.org, maybe if I was to, I don't know, whatever LimeWire is these days, I haven't got a clue, or the news groups, I'd be able to get it, but I can't get it officially. But I know someone would have recorded that, and it's somewhere. Films, music, TV, you can do all that. Games, you can't. You can't play a recording of a game. And again, it's why I think long plays on YouTube are such a great idea, because someone might not want to play Rain or Frobisher Says or Killzone Mercenaries or Loco Roco or anything like that, for example. But they might be able to watch a long play of it and get what it was. So those are vital as well. So again, I think anyone who's got those games and you do decide to play for it, do a long play of it. Just do a stream of you playing it and things like that and save that. There are other ways, because, I mean, if the publishers aren't going to do it, we've got to find ways of doing it. And piracy's one way. The other way is just we need footage of those games, so they're not lost to just like old men talking about those games in 50, 60 years' time.
Precisely. Yeah, 100% agree.
But no, that's it. That's a brilliant question, Brent. Thank you very much. And if anyone wants to get involved, either what's your opinions on this? Are we filthy scum for the way we promote piracy in this respect? Let us know. Do you think Stu's got a soothing voice and that he's better than me? Or do you like listening to me go on and on and on and on and on and on? Then get involved, give us questions, give us feedback. podcast@mentalhealthgaming.com. That is podcast@mentalhealthgaming.com. And this is where I'd be quiet and pass over to Stu.
Yeah, so there's just one thing I wanted to mention on a very serious topic, and I'm not joking, it's genuinely serious, before we left. And if you remember the conversation that we had the other week about misogyny and murder in the UK and the Everard case, and I mentioned that, yes, one of the unfortunate things is that this is happening all the time, and it's very often, 99% of the time, it's when middle-class white women are impacted that it becomes a news item. And I wanted to say that I saw something yesterday. It just happened to somebody I follow on TikTok who's really good, very politically aware, and she was saying that when she was talking about the Met Police involvement in pursuing cases and things, mentioned a lady called Blessing Olesegun, or Lesegun, who's a lady who was murdered recently. And her basically circumstances and situation were very similar to the Everard case, but there was nothing about it anywhere. And she's a person of colour, and her situation has been erased. And there's been lots since that case just a few weeks back. There's been lots of people saying, "Well, excuse me, my family member was murdered, mine has disappeared. We've had nowhere near the level of attention or care that's been provided, either by condolence or commiseration or by investigation." So yeah, I just wanted to highlight that that's still a very disgusting thing, and it's unfortunate that I was so right about it. It's something I don't want to be right about, but unfortunately I was. And we have a responsibility as a society to make sure that everybody who faces these awful things gets an equal level of help and attention, so that they get some justice, and also that we can prevent it happening ever again.
100%, absolutely 100%. And it's you almost dealt the double blow of, one, being a woman, two, being a woman of colour, to be completely forgotten by society. And then when you see a stereotypical pretty young white woman get the attention, you just can't help but feel cynicism and despair at not only the way our laws work and the police work, but also the way society works and the way society reacts still, and shows how far we've still got to go. I don't want to go too far into it because I will go on for hours, but yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, no, and to be clear, both Brad and I completely sympathise with that case, and it's absolutely disgusting, and it's great that that the only positive from it is that it's raised people's awareness. But I think what we're saying is we have to take responsibility for it raising awareness about violence to all women and not just a certain section of them. So the takeaway is not that this particular woman who a certain section of society might be drawn to has suffered this, but that all women do. And as I mentioned also on the other podcast, a lot of LGBTQ plus people as well. So yes, it's just an important thing. Just wanted to echo that and get it out there again, because it can never be said too much. Yeah. So other than that, that's it for the week. So hopefully you've had a good week and have a good week in prospect. But from us, that's it. So stay tuned, listen to our podcasts, go back through the back episodes if you haven't, write into podcast@mentalhealthgaming.com to have your questions read out, or just to give feedback, whichever you like. Shout at us, talk about, Brad being a tyrant, that sort of stuff. Yeah, and other than that, please just stay safe, stay sane, and take care.